Hey yo, this is the intro. Welcome back to the Speaking Nerd podcast. Talk about all of that nerd shit. Yeah, all that. I'm here with the co-host with the most. I'm talking Marvel DC fan, the man with the plan. And Batman Ultra 7. He above 10, he 11. And I'm your boy Alter. I never falter. I stay on top. I got these rappers praying to me like the altar. We talking about childhood favorites. I'm here with the boys. I know. Laying up with your bitch like I'm on vacation.
I want to have that whole thing on a have a beat underneath it, and then once you fuck up, the beat just goes away.
Yeah.
But yes,
Okay.
that is what we're talking about. Our childhood favorite comic books. This is a last minute idea, but boy, we're doing it.
Well, yeah, because Swifty's not here. I don't want to talk about Superman without him being here, and I know he's really excited to talk about it. So we're not doing Superman, not yet. Someday, if he ever gets back to us. I know all of us have been
Our
really
Superman
excited to talk
episode
about
is
Superman.
coming next week.
Yeah, if you ever, yeah, the episode is will Josh ever respond in the group chat?
Tune in next time for Josh will never respond in the group chat.
When's the last time he was in an episode?
Josh
Genuinely.
hates the Speaking Nerd podcast.
Not since we did a CinemaCon day one, which was a few months ago.
That was a while ago.
Jesus.
Yeah. Let me actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, you guys keep going on. You start the episode. I'm just gonna look up when that released.
Walter, what was the comic that got you into comics? Like
See, that's what I was going to say.
Icebreaker.
I was going to ask you. Well, I was actually going to ask first. What was the first comic you remember ever buying / getting as a gift or whatever as a kid?
I think the first comic I remember reading was a random issue of Amazing Fantasy that had Black Panther, Iron Man, Spider-Man. I feel like there was one more guy, but I don't remember. And it had Ultron. It was it was a bonkers issue. But then like just a little bit after that, I got into Batman Adventures, the tie-in for Batman animated series, and that's what really like got me into collecting comics.
So the first ever comic that I ever got as a kid, it was two of them. It was a random issue of like Tarzan from the 70s. Then when like DC was publishing Tarzan. But that wasn't the book that I like read the most. That wasn't like the book I read the most. So the book I read the most was a book I got the same day, and I'm sending the cover of it to Podcast Crew right now. But it was Brave and the Bold, starring Batman and Green Lantern. It's issue 155. What, 1979? I think it was.
Oh, is this the exact one?
That's the exact one.
Nice.
It was a gift from my grandmother, and I remember opening it as a kid. It's destroyed now, and I probably should find a decent copy of it just to have as like a keepsake. But it's the first comic I ever read to death. And as a little kid, I grew up on Batman cartoons, the Schumacher films, the Nolan films. So obviously, I'm a huge Batman fan, and just like this was peak.
Yeah, I have a lot of single issues of classic Brave and the Bold. I need to fish through them sometime and show them to you because
If you
I love
have,
these old
have that
covers.
issue in particular, I will give you an ungodly amount of money for it.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the first ever comic that I'd ever had, and as a little kid, there's no way for me to get comics, so my grandmother gifting me that and the Tarzan book blew my mind, and it was the first ever start to my tiny comic book collection that I wanted to get into. Eventually, I ended up getting another Batman book that eventually sealed the deal of me collecting comics. It's a Batman book from the 80s. Let me see if I can find it, the cover date real quick.
What title is
It's
it?
I remember the cover of it is just like Two Faces face. Like that's literally the whole cover. Found it, Batman Annual 14. That's what it is.
Oh
1990.
yeah,
Okay.
I already know what you're talking about before you post it.
I'm gonna send the cover of it anyways, just for transparency. But then I think later on that year, I was like 9 or 10. I got gifted this book from my parents. They got it at like a flea market or something for me. Same thing, read it to death.
Yeah, this is
Became like my prized possession. Like this thing's phenomenal to me.
Yeah. That is a
It's a
really
great book.
kick-ass cover.
I remember
it's classic.
thinking how much of a great book it was.
Nice.
Now you give your story, Marvel.
Okay,
Yeah,
With
what was
so
the first comic you ever read, and what comic got you into collecting?
yeah,
so
pony
my
up.
so my first book, that episode came out April 4th, by the way. But so my first book, or one of the first ones that I remember, was an issue of Amazing Spider-Man. It was right around the time the first Civil War was happening. So this is when Tony and the issue was Tony giving him the Iron Spider suit, and they fly to some unknown location. I forget where. It might have been like Los Angeles or something. There's a montage of Peter trying out, like it has a cloaking mechanism or whatever, so it can look like other Spidey suits. So one of them was classic suit, one of them was black suit, yada yada yada. He fights some random villain in the Iron Spider suit, and I don't remember who that villain was or what it would have led to in the next issue, but that's basically the earliest extent. And what got me into comics or collecting comics was because I'd collect a few random issues as a little kid. M- I mean, I liked superhero media, cartoons, movies, and stuff. And my dad would be like, "Let's go to the comic book shop. We'll take all the kids with us." And the other kids didn't give a fuck about comic books. And I collect a random issue here and there. But what got me collecting full time was actually uh, the Arkham games, specifically Arkham City. So I played that. I wanted to know more about the characters in that world. I was like, well, I guess I can go for comic books. And then I started collecting trades for a while. I was doing single issues until I just abandoned that. And now whenever I see a book I like, I just go for it. So that's my whole story.
Boy, aren't you interesting?
No, yeah.
I'll tell you
Fascinating.
what, though. I can guarantee you that my parents for sure had no idea what the hell was in those books when they were buying them for me. Because I was like
No.
9 reading that Batman Annual issue, and there's like dudes getting like cut open, blood splattered everywhere. There's like brief nudity. Batman just whooping ass. Fucking, I don't think you guys understand. Batman in the 90s was putting belt to ass, dude. Like 80s and 90s Batman, like early 90s Batman, not like fucking Nightfall Batman, but like late 80s, early 90s Batman was putting belt to ass, dude. He was beating that shit.
It's beating them with the yardstick, grabbing that shit,
Dude,
beating their asses.
Batman mean, the Batman in the '80s be the type to fucking throat punch you and then be like, "Now, what'd you learn?"
Yeah, totally.
I love
I
'80s Batman.
remember we were in a comic shop one time. I think I was like 7, 8 years old, something like that. And it was like me, my brother, and my 2 sisters. We all went together, and I found an issue. It was the last issue of Spider-Man Reign, which is that story where he's an old. It's basically Spider-Man Dark Knight Returns, essentially. For those who
it's a
don't know,
great
Is that book
book.
good?
it's the what's that?
Is that book even good? I've heard things
No, it's
about
not.
it. I've never read it
That's
though.
not.
Okay, I didn't think it
But
was.
I found that book. It was the last issue, and the cover was like Venom eating Spider-Man alive, and like he's basically got him like by like half of his torso is gone. There's blood pouring out everywhere. And I showed my dad, and my dad was like, "I'll get it for you." I don't know
Yeah,
how. I don't know how that happened, but um,
Father of the Year.
I know. And I read that book, and I was traumatized because Venom was scary. So
if I'm not mistaken, when my grandparents bought me that Brave and the Bold book, they actually knew what the Comic Code Authority was. Because they pointed at that
yeah.
logo to my parents. I was
crazy.
like, "This is how we know what's good for little Caden here." I'm sitting here. That book though, because I was already a Batman fan because the comics and movies, or not comic, the cartoons and movies and stuff. So I was already like a Batman fan. I had like the little Imaginext figures and stuff. So like I was already me and Batman go way back. But that book is what got me into Green Lantern. Because I don't talk about it much, but I'm a huge Green Lantern Corps fan.
It's because of Ryan Reynolds.
Kill yourself.
You see, I was gonna.
But yeah,
You
dude,
see, I was
I had
gonna make that joke, but yeah, anyway.
actually my hot take is that the Ryan Reynolds movie's not that bad, but I digress. I that's the book that like I read it and I was like, Green Lantern. Hey, this guy's not bad. And then I ended up like catching Green Lantern the animated series on DC Nation around the same time. Peak fucking television. Still need to rewatch the full thing. Go watch the DC Nation video if you haven't already on this channel.
Yes.
And uh, I saw the Green Lantern Ryan Reynolds movie. At the time, I didn't know what quality was. Because at that time, I was also like a huge, Batman and Robin supporter. So I didn't know what quality was. It was like it's got a superhero and it's badass. And so I was like, it's a Green Lantern movie. It's badass.
Mm.
Yeah, Caden just liked movies that everybody hated.
I also used to watch X-Men Origins Wolverine. But
Yeah.
don't
Yeah, that's
worry,
correct.
fellas. I also watched the Dark. Don't worry, fellas. I also watched the Dark Knight. So balance it out, I guess.
I mean, that's like 2-1 though.
Batman Begins, Burton Batman. Those are 3 good movies. I watched a lot of the animated stuff as a kid too. Same thing though. Parents had no idea that those animated Batman films, like the animated DC films, had no idea that those were as raunchy as they were. I remember my grandpa bought me The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. I was like 8 or 9. 10. Maybe 10. I was a little older because I already had the comics, so I was probably older. But still, like a 10-year-old watching The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, and my grandparents being fucking traumatized by this little animated film. So it's the whole cartoons are for kids argument, but that's a different episode for a different day.
Yeah. I was gonna say I have a funny memory with The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, which I don't know. We could save that for later, but
Just say it because I have a funny memory with that movie too. My sister bought it for
So
me
I
as a late birthday present. My sister bought me that movie
so
as a late birthday present, and the part where that kid is saying like Batman's gonna kick your ass, she thought I said that
yeah.
when I was watching it out loud, and so then my sister goes in there to like beat my ass. And I'm like, it was a fucking TV.
I I remember it was around that part of the movie. It was my mom. I was in the living room watching it, DVR'd on the
What did you?
from the DVR, so it
What
had the
cable
ads in
channel?
between.
What cable channel aired that?
They had a so it was a we had a station for a long time. It was called Teletoon, which had like all sorts of cartoons, whether it was from Cartoon Network or whatever. But they had it was basically after they had a thing called Teletoon at night, which was basically uh Adult Swim. They're like
Okay,
Adult Swim type
so
programming and
badass.
whatnot.
Got it. So
So
badass.
I DVR'd the movie and I was watching it one day, and my mom came in and was just like, "Oh, you're watching Batman," and she came in right at the scene where uh Batman throws the batarangs at Joker, and one of them gets
Oh,
lodged
it
into
just
his eye.
slices him open. Yeah,
Yeah,
just the gory part of the movie.
and she's just like, "What the fuck?" It's like, "What are you watching?" It's just like, "Oh, just Batman, whatever."
Yeah, see, dude. So I remember it was so cool. So for DC fandom, Toonami on Adult Swim aired a few Batman films. What the hell they had? They had Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, and then Year 1, and then Justice League, the fuck's it called? Frontier?
Was it
Doom?
What's the
the New Frontier?
New Frontier?
New Frontier? That's what it was. It was New Frontier. Those were the 4 movies that aired back to
Correction,
back on Adult
it's
Swim, and I remember that.
DC's New Frontier.
A correction, my balls have yet to be licked. Either way, uh, I don't know. Those movies, I will just to kind of put it back on track a little bit. Those movies are a big part of why I got into comics, the animated films. They're
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
animated films do a way better job at selling you the comic than any of the live action films have ever done, except for maybe James Gunn nowadays. But like I watched The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, and then I watched the sneak preview to Dark Knight Returns Part 2, and they're talking about, oh, this is all the stuff that's going to happen in the second part that's inspired by this part of the book. Go read the book.
Yeah.
Shows panels of the book and everything, and it's all this, and that was badass. And then you later had the same thing with Superman Unbound. I think that's what that movie was called. And then
Yeah.
then also going back and watching like Year 1 and seeing all the previews for Year 1, and
Yeah.
just like Son of Batman showing like the Damian Wayne panels, and so those movies did sell me a lot on the comics themselves that they were adapting. And I really wish that DC would have kept releasing those films like they did.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely do miss the yearly 2 or 3 like animated DC films we get a year. It's like I love all the James Gunn stuff now, and I love Cape Crusader, love Creature Commandos, but like fucking we're getting Aztec Batman, but we still have yet to get like a I don't know what's a good film, like an Arkham Asylum film.
We kind of already got that though. Unless you're talking about Serious House on Serious Earth.
That's what I'm talking about. The Serious House and Serious, like we get to
Okay.
get that adaptation,
That would go insane if they were able to
or like a
replicate that art style.
Mm.
or like an adaptation of like Court of Owls.
A good adaptation.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I meant like a full on adaptation of that book in that art
Right.
style, because that's what they
Yeah.
did back in
yeah.
the day. Hell, even I'd argue that they could easily do like a Long Halloween Dark Victory adaptation in that
I'm
same
still
style, and it'd be
I'm still terrified of seeing them try to do an adaptation after Batman Hush.
Yeah, it's just after they made Flashpoint and they made a huge deal of like, oh, we're gonna do our own, universe with, connecting plot lines, and we're just gonna take all these stories that fans love and
Oh,
just insert them in.
even then, I still, the Camus had some really high highs, had some low lows, but the lows weren't ever low enough for me to not like the universe. Was
I
it
don't know.
mid?
Batman
Yes.
Hush was pretty.
Okay, but aside from Hush was fucking dog shit. But aside from Hush, like Son of Batman,
Yeah,
Justice League War, I like Justice League War a lot.
I feel like after, I don't know, like Justice League War, it's kind of whatever, and then Son of Batman is in that same camp. But then right after, like I think right after Throne of Atlantis is when things just kind of go off the rails and just get
Yeah.
bad immediately. Like Batman versus Robin is bad. It's not good whatsoever.
I did
don't know.
really like Judas Contract though. I was a big fan of Judas Contract.
Yeah.
I'd
I didn't hate
honestly
Batman
just
versus
rather
Robin either.
watch the show.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you guys that the Camus was god tier or anything, but I still semi miss it. I just miss their yearly releases.
It's
So like
just
even after,
I could
even
never
after
get.
or even during the Camus, you had stuff like
I could
fuck.
just never get with the art style. It was so bland.
You had like Assault on Arkham, which was,
Yeah, Assault on
better than
Arkham.
better than most of the
Yeah.
crap that was being released then.
Yeah.
What I'm saying though
But
is
then
like
you
we
also
just don't
had the
have.
Killing Joke.
Well, yeah, Killing Joke's. I don't really know who to blame for Killing Joke, to be honest, but
I blame Bruce Timm. Like
that's fair.
that's just me though.
Yeah, though, like, when they diverted away from DeCamu during that time, there were a couple good movies.
Yeah.
I liked Justice League versus the Fatal Five. Gods and Monsters was cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, like we just had Watchmen 1 and 2 come out. Was
Yeah.
that good?
I heard like mixed things about it.
I thought part one was really good. I haven't seen part two yet.
I don't know,
That
dude.
makes me laugh. That makes me laugh because it's just like when we first heard that they were doing this, all of us were like, "It's doomed to fail. Like it's gonna be shit."
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, as soon as they said
whatever.
they're doing animated Watchmen, I was like, they should have done that 10 years ago. Because if they did it 10 years ago, it would have been peak. Now it's gonna suck. I guess we got Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League this year.
Yeah. I haven't seen that.
I just don't care to watch.
Do you want?
Batman.
I was about to say, do you want to?
I don't really have many feelings about it.
I mean, I stopped giving a shit about DC animated films a long time ago. So
I still love them. I don't care what anybody says. It's like, yeah, DeCamu was going on, but at the same time, you had like right before DeCamu, you had Dark Knight Returns, Superman vs. the Elite, Doom, Year One, Emerald Knights. You had all those right before DeCamu, And then you
I've
went
never
like
seen
during the
Emerald
camp,
Knights.
you had Gods and Monsters, you had Gotham by Gaslight, TMNT versus Batman, Red Sun, Soul of the Dragon.
Oh God, Soul of the Dragon.
I like Soul of the Dragon. Fuck you. Soul of the Dragon
Okay.
is a good movie. It's a good movie, but it's just like it's like superhero movie, or no, it's a kung fu movie. Batman's there too, though.
Literally, it's
What is
just like,
what
yeah,
is
we got
what
this.
does Batman do? He exists.
Yeah, it's
He just
yeah,
kind of
literally, it's
stands
just like
there.
we got this 70 kung fu like disco themed, and then Batman's just here.
It's
Huh?
it's such a jarring concept.
It's weird, but I love that movie though. I watched it. I thought it was badass because it is just a kung fu movie. And then Bruce Wayne shows up, and then it's just like, "Why are you here?" And just like, even he's like, "I don't know why the fuck I'm here."
I was around. I
I
needed the
know a
money.
guy who knows a guy that I know a guy who knew a guy that was once into kung fu and happened to be black. Batman black exploitation is insane. We got a Batman black exploitation film before fucking GTA 6.
Don't worry, Alter. Everything
And
is
on
coming.
that note, should we go back to talking about comic books?
Yeah, we need to cut most of this out, dude. Or we could just leave it in.
No, I say we'll just leave it in.
I'd
Fuck it.
say so we talked about the first comics you bought and the comics that got you into collecting comics. What are some early memory or what are some early memories of comics that you have? Like some of your earliest memories that you have of like, either getting really into them or stories you have surrounding comic books as a medium. Because me personally, you know, I was like an early adopter to the internet because of just when I was born. So I watched a lot of Variant comics, dude, and Variant is what got me into a lot of comic stuff. And I remembered so many memories watching his channel, seeing the stuff he talks about, and then trying my best to try to find the comic online and read them.
Yeah.
Like I remember a lot of getting into the New 52 as it was coming out. Like as a kid though. And then learning and then again watching the animated films and then taking in the animated films and going and reading The Dark Knight Returns, reading Year One, reading Flashpoint. So I have a lot of memories surrounding comics as well, and also just being hooked on them. Like I'd read one, and it's just like I need to read every. Like I remember reading one, like just getting a random issue of Batman as a kid, reading it, and immediately feeling like I need to read everything else now.
I just remember like like 7, 8 years old. I like I would most of those books like we just got, and I wouldn't even really read them necessarily. It was just looking at all the different art and stuff. And then once I got into junior high, that's when junior high school is when I really like actually decided to sit down and actually read the speech bubbles. And I remember it was just like some of the books that they had there, like most of it was just Batman stuff. Like junior high, I remember reading volume 1 of Hush for the first time. And I mean, besides like DC books, there was also stuff like Hellboy, which was pretty cool. And, or Spawn or Kick Ass or something like high school, like that's where I first read Long Halloween for the first time, and that became probably one of my favorite books ever to read. I did a book report on Long Halloween, and I remember getting a fairly high grade because of it. So
in uh in elementary school, I was I would bring comics like with me to school in my backpack, and I
I did
would
the
do
same
it.
thing.
I would
Yeah, I probably did that too.
I would do it so often that uh, it became a thing. Like when I was waiting to be like picked up, where I would like pass off comics to like other people in my class, and then it basically became like I was the comics library for my class. Um, and I would just keep coming in and bringing new books like every day.
Me and Adrian actually had a similar thing when we were in elementary together. He would bring comics that his dad would have bought them, and I bring like comics that my parents got at like flea markets and other things for me. We
Mhm.
trade them off. He'd hand me like a random issue of like Spider Verse. I'd hand him a random like '90s Batman issue, and we'd read those, waiting to be picked up or at recess or whatever. But speaking of school, our school actually had. Are you guys aware of like the Marvel Age lineup of like
Yeah,
all
Yes.
yeah.
age Marvel comics?
Mhm.
Our school had a ton of them. Our elementary had a ton of them in the library, and I do remember. I remember. I remember reading every single one that we had. We had there's a few Spider-Man ones that were, I'm pretty sure, were loosely based on like the Ultimate Comics. Some Hulk ones. There were a few other Spider-Man ones I think we had as well, and an X-Men one. I remember an X-Men one as well. And I read them to death as a kid. And I actually remember in elementary and also in high school, which is this happened again in high school. Weirdly enough, that it happened again in high school because I graduated a year ago. But so both in elementary and in high school, I got in arguments with my teachers because I would try to argue that comics were better than real books. And then, but like, I argued with my third grade teacher, and she immediately was shut up. Shut the fuck up, you retarded. Get the fuck back in the short bus, you piece of shit. Not literally what she said, but close to what close close to what she meant.
It's what it felt like in your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah. But in high school, I actually was talking to my junior year English teacher because we were doing a book report, and every book report I did, I do in a graphic novel. Every single one. Every book report we do, I did one on Watchmen, I did one on Killing Joke, I did one on Long Halloween. But we got to do our end of year book report, and it was like our largest test grade ever. And the teacher looked at me, and she was like, "And no, Caden, you cannot do a graphic novel for your book report." And I looked her dead in the face, and I was like, "Why? These books are better than what we have here in the library."
Mm.
And she got heated when I said that, and she said that I had to do a book report on a non-graphic novel, but I can make bonus points if I wrote her a report on why I think comic books are better. So I wrote her a report on why I think comics are better, and I don't think she actually ended up giving me extra credit, but I did ace my book report, and my book report was a Batman book. So suck my fucking dick. I still did a Batman book. It wasn't a graphic novel, but it was a Batman novel that I ended up
I
actually just buying I ended up buying the graphic novel version of that Batman book to do the book report. Because I told her, I was like, "Yeah, I checked out this Batman book from the library." Then went on Amazon and bought the graphic novel version for like $3. Read that.
Yep.
I was like, "I'm gonna spike this bitch."
I did 2 book reports on graphic novels. In my junior year, I did Long Halloween, and then in my senior year, I did, was it like a 5-page paper on the Marvels?
Big.
And I remember
Peak.
getting I think my mark or the grade that I got was like 87 or something, and it was my English teacher who was also a football coach, and I remember telling him, was like, "Hey, can I do this graphic novel for the paper?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." It's like and we kind of had a similar thing where he's like, "I don't know why you would want to do a comic book or whatever," and I was just like, "Well, because comic books are great." And he's like, "Well,
Because they're better.
right." It's like, well, he's like, "Well, write that paper and turn it in, and we'll see what happens." And when he was handing it out, the class had ended, and I was there talking to him about some other stuff, and he we were talking. He was like, "So yeah, that paper that you wrote on that book," and I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well." It's like I liked your paper. He liked my paper more than everybody else's in the class, and they did like normal ass novels. And he actually was like, "Yeah, your book is actually like one of the ones that I wanted to read." Like after I read your paper.
Yeah, he's just
That's
like
what
the rest of them, bunch of bums.
yeah, why the fuck would you read The Great Gatsby when you could read the Marvels? Fucking
Yeah.
pansies. But yeah, I had a similar thing happen in ninth grade whenever we were having to do a book report on the teacher said pick your favorite book that you read within the past 5 years is what the prompt was, and write a 2-page report on it. And I chose Watchmen, and I wrote about Watchmen, and I wrote about how all the metaphors for different pages and double meanings behind Alan Moore's writing, and
Yeah.
talking about how social justice, all this other stuff. And the teacher wrote me a note, and she said that I was the only person in the class. This is like ninth grade when I was doing virtual classes, and she was like, "This is the only book, or this is the only book report that I read where I actually felt moved by the book itself." And she was like, "This is probably the most mature book that anyone's ever picked," and it was a graphic novel. And so it changed her perspective on graphic novels, because she's like, the kids were all reading these normal ass novels, and these are just fucking bullshit is what they were writing. Meanwhile, I'm writing this fucking I should have won a fucking Nobel Prize for my Watchmen report.
Yeah, literally.
The teachers did get pissed off that I was using graphic novels, because I was one of the only kids in my entire grade, like out of like the 100 kids that graduated in my grade, I was the only one that actually read, read books, but I read graphic novels. And so they were all pissed off, and it's like, he's already read half the shit he's writing about. Like my Killing Joke report, I didn't even read the book. I just wrote it. I just got on my fucking laptop, wrote it in a day, and submitted it.
Mm,
I was the first person to
yeah.
submit my book report because I was just writing about the Killing Joke. And my teacher's like, "Are you sure you don't want to reread it before you do your report?" And I looked my teacher in the eye, and I dead in the face. I looked her dead in the face and said, "I've read this book 12 times, and I will probably read it again. I
Mhm.
have read it again since then. I'll probably read it again tonight."
Yeah.
Real.
I know the Killing Joke is just an obvious pick for like best graphic novel or whatever, but it is genuinely my favorite. And I think a lot of that does come from my childhood. It was the first comic book that genuinely made me think, you know, and it was one I did get at an early age. Again, shouldn't have been reading it at my age. I shouldn't have been reading a lot of things at my age,
Yeah.
graphic novel wise, but Killing Joke was definitely up there with one I read when I was like 12, 13, which is around the time I met you guys, at least Marvel.
Mhm.
But either way,
Yeah.
damn, I'm fucking young. Either way, though, I loved the Killing Joke, and it was like I read it and I was like, man, it's like I'm discovering a lot more like alternate meanings and stuff behind it. And to this day, the ending with the flashlight's my favorite ending of any comic book. and all these memories I have attached to The Killing Joke is why it remains my favorite of all time. It's because of my memories of reading it as a kid, and also on top of the fact that Alan Moore's peak, like on top of like I'm not just sitting here bullshitting like nostalgia of why I like it. It's also just that good. It's just the nostalgia adds to why I have it as like the top of the top.
Yeah.
Man, I've been yapping.
What's new?
So I have a question for you guys now. What was the first time you read a comic and you hated it?
Ooh.
Hated it?
Yes. Like you picked up the comic, you read it, and you're like, I don't like this.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that. You
I feel
guys
like
go
if
ahead.
I feel like if I hate a comic, it exits my memory.
All Star Batman and Robin doesn't leave your memory, AJ.
Though that's
That book,
too
that,
comical to
that book
straight up hate.
stays with. Dude, I love that book so much. It's the room of Batman comics. I will say though, the first comic I ever read that I actually hated. When I was homeschooled for a while, we used to go to the public library a lot, and I read a lot of graphic novels that way. That's how I got into like New 52, like Grayson, Batgirl. But I got a Star Wars graphic novel from it. I can't remember much about it, but I just remember it was a Star Wars graphic novel, and I remember the writing was a complete mess, and I hated it. Like I read the full thing. I challenged myself. I was like, I'm gonna read this full thing, and I did. Boy, it was miserable. Boy, it
So you're
sucked.
saying we have no context outside of Star Wars?
Yeah, I do. I again, that's. I was like, I was like 11. I don't remember the fucking. Look up Star
Fuck Star
Wars
Wars.
all age graphic novel.
While you're looking that up, I just thought of something that popped into my head again. And so when I was, I want to say 10, 11 years old, we used to go to garage sales a lot. And on occasion, some people would sell comic books. And one of these houses I remember was just down the block from my own house. They had a garage sale, and I found um, they had a box of comics that they were selling for like $5 or so. They really just wanted to get rid of this shit. So that I gave them $5, and in the box they had the entire set of Ultimates 3, the the book that's supposed to come out before Ultimatum. I don't know why I read the whole thing. Each issue, like it started off weird, and I was just like, I want to see where this goes. And I remember as this 10, 11-year-old putting the last issue down, I'm just like, man, that sucked. Just damn.
Okay, I think I got something.
All right.
Um, I think one comic I really dislike is the like Tom Taylor, John Kent. Specifically, uh, John Kent hugging Injustice Superman. to
No.
resolve the story is truly one of the most awful things I've ever read in a comic.
As soon as you said John Kent, my first thought was like he's going to talk about the time he met Injustice Superman. I know it.
I,
So that's
that, he should have punched that man. I'm sorry, you don't win battles by hugging fascists.
no.
It just doesn't work that way. Just know that the Superman would
Yeah.
not do that.
Yeah, didn't he learn nothing from that girl in the opening of Watchmen? Like if you put a flower in somebody's gun,
Literally,
they're just going to shoot it anyway.
literally.
Yeah.
Man, Tom Taylor makes me so mad just by just anytime he writes something.
Okay, I found the book that I read. I was a little, I was older than I thought I was, but it makes sense. It was around quarantine.
Yeah.
This is the first time I read a book, and I was like, genuinely did not like it. It's Star Wars: Age of Resistance, and son of a bitch, AJ, it's Tom Taylor.
I knew it.
Yeah, dude, this is a Marvel Star Wars book that fucking sucks.
Oh, is this like sequel trilogy?
Yeah, it's a sequel trilogy Tom Taylor book.
I think the moral of this episode is never read anything by Tom Taylor.
Agreed.
I think it's
Sad
this
thing
book. I
is he's
could be wrong.
he's
'Cause
writing
I could have swear I was. I could swear I was younger whenever I read it, but I was still homeschooled there when it came out, so I could have just got ages confused. But I do know I
sad
hated
thing
this
is
book, and the cover looks familiar.
I have this weird thing when it comes to comics from the mid 2000s where I think I saw it a lot earlier or like when I was younger. Like I thought I could have sworn when I was, 4 years old seeing like Planet Hulk for the first time. And then I come to
right.
realize like, oh, that book came out in like 2007. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, no, I'm that way with a lot of
It's
stuff,
like
like just
a
outside of
double
comics
take
as well.
thing.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, the
But
sad
yeah,
thing
Tom
is
Taylor
Tom Taylor
Superman.
writing Detective Comics right now.
Well, hey AJ, this is why I don't fucking read
What?
it.
So
On
sad.
top of the fact I don't live near a comic store.
We had
There's a
such a peak Detective Comics team right before him, but
AJ, I'm gonna need you to send me some good recommendations, like easy recommendations, just because I want
well,
to
you
ease
just
myself back into reading comics
send
before
me
before I.
send me a list of characters you want to read about, and I'll send you recommendations.
Be back in a minute. You guys
Okay.
keep talking.
So this is going to be an odd question, but it's one that does pertain to childhood comic books that I do want to talk about, and that is, when was the first time you read you read a comic and it was better than the movie and inspired? What's the earliest memory of that?
Better than the movie inspired. I mean, I guess you could say that about like The Long Halloween.
Is it the
um,
earliest though?
um,
Like the first time that ever happened? Because for me, it's
I,
very distinct.
I guess if we're like talking really loosely, um, I mean like reading like the original Ra's al Ghul story, and then like seeing Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. Uh, I prefer him in the comic.
Yeah, that's like a technicality though, isn't it?
What?
It's like a technicality. It's like I
I
could
mean,
say that.
it's definitely a
Like I could say the
technicality
same thing
because
about reading. Like the same. I could say the same
it's
thing
not
about
really a
being like a
story
Deadpool
yet.
fan. Just watching when I'm watching X Men Origins.
Yeah. I mean, they're just. I mean, to be fair, there just wasn't a lot of um.
A lot of good act
There just
adaptations.
wasn't. Yeah, well, they were either like very 1-to-1, or they just weren't good.
The only the only times I say that they were good if they weren't 1-to-1 is if they were so drastically different, but they were still well written. That's why I like Tim Burton's Batman films a
Yeah,
lot. Because
but
Tim
Tim
Burton
Burton's
understands
not
Tim
trying
Burton understands
to.
Batman from a very aesthetic level. He understands Batman's aesthetic. He doesn't understand him as a character. However, he's still a good filmmaker. So he made really good looking Batman films. and really
Yeah.
well written movies, but he didn't make really good Batman movies. So that's probably my main argument whenever people ask me, like, oh, why do you hate Zack Snyder but you love Tim Burton's Batman? Because Zack Snyder can't fucking write. But I digress.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I hope you can agree with my statement. But however, the first time I ever read a comic, and I realized that I liked the comic way more than the movie, or that I saw the movie after. In this sense, I actually saw the movie after I read the comic, and it is The Killing Joke. Because I was still fairly young when the Killing
Yeah.
Joke movie came out, and I
I feel like
watched them.
I feel like
I've
that's an
read the book. The movie was coming out, and I had already knew oh, this book's legendary. I need to get it. So I convinced my parents to buy me the Killing Joke graphic novel. I read it plenty of times. I loved it. So I got even more excited for the animated film to come out. It came out, I think like the day or the day after it came out, I bought it on DVD. And I went and I watched it
All
at my
right.
house.
I'm back.
Welcome back. Either way, I watched The Killing Joke in my house. And I hated it. Because, well, artistically, it's not even close to the book. But also the Batgirl stuff was fucking weird. Even for me as a kid at that time, it was like, this is fucking weird. And
Yeah,
so
really, really,
that was probably
the
my
only
earliest memory of liking the book more than the movie. Is
I think
Killing Joke.
really the only redeeming factor about that movie is like the voice cast, and that's like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. You know, yeah.
So the question for Xavier, because we both already answered this. At least AJ kind of answered it, and I gave my answer. What's
Okay.
the earliest memory you have of liking the comic more than the movie?
Ooh. Oh God. I mean, there's like I, stuff like Watchmen, of course, and you already mentioned Killing Joke, which Killing Joke I read years before that movie had come out. I remember watching Gotham by Gaslight and reading the comic afterwards because I knew nothing about. Well, like after, or like I didn't really know much about the original source material, and that was another one where I was just like, "What is with these weird ass changes they made for the movie?" Just kind of
Yeah,
jarring, but
I like the
yeah,
Gotham by Gaslight animated film though.
yeah, it's okay.
Like on its own thing. I like it
Yeah,
on
it's
its
all right.
own.
I don't know why, but I was thinking in the opposite terms because Dark Knight Returns, I like the book, but I think the animated movie is so much better to
I agree
experience.
there.
But yeah,
I think I think the benefit of some of those early um adaptation movies is that they kind of cut out some of the stuff that was like unnecessary. Like I
Yeah,
think
that's the main
those
thing. They cut out what was unnecessary about a lot of stuff when it comes to like the Batman,
was
Superman, Public Enemies movie or Dark Knight
you're
Under the
Returns.
Red
still in
Hood, Under the Red Hood is a really good example of that, where they trimmed everything else that had to do with the larger DC universe, and I think they took out the sequence where Red Hood like nukes Bloodhaven or something.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, they took out all the bullshit about like Superman destroying Earth or like breaking the fucking space time continuum or whatever the fuck.
punching reality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correction.
comic
Yeah, punch the reality wall.
correction, I
Well,
was
people
tongue
don't
punching your mom's fart box.
people don't realize. Okay. Um, people don't realize that because I see all the time, it's just like, why did they make these changes or whatever? The thing that people need to realize is that they have to condense all that down into a movie
Like an
that's
hour and a
like
half max.
an hour. Yeah, hour and a
Also,
half
also,
max. So
also in the case of like Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, I think it just makes it a better story.
yeah, me and
I
Swifty
don't.
were talking about this a little bit when we were recording our commentary track for Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and he was telling me all the changes that were being made through like that in the animated film. And he mentioned one at the very end where it was Captain Atom that took out the kryptonite meteor, and obviously in the movie they swap it out for Batman, which I think was a much better change
Well,
because it
I
fits
think
more within that
the biggest
dynamic
the
of their
biggest
friendship and
change the biggest change in the story is you have King becomes Superman for like absolutely no reason.
yeah, he just shows up out of no he mentioned that too. He just shows up out of
Uh,
nowhere and
it
starts
it
like he almost
doesn't make
murders
So,
any
Batman.
sense at all.
so
And I'm
the cra-
so glad they took it out.
the crazy thing about Batman vs Superman or Batman vs Superman, Jesus, Batman Superman Public Enemies. So this is gonna be a little bit of a tangent, but growing up, I watched The Real Comic Book Gamer a lot. He's another channel I used to
Mm.
watch a lot that got me into comics because he, most of his channel is him playing games and talking about comics while playing the game. But he had this series he had for a little bit, where he would compare like the DC animated movies to their comic counterparts. And episode 1 was about Public Enemies, and all he did that whole video was talk about how much he hated the animated movie because it wasn't like the comic.
Mm.
It made sense to me because as a kid watching that movie, that like I still haven't read the comic, but that movie is god tier.
Yeah, there's really only like I think like one more thing I would cut from that movie, but it's such a small scene. Um, but like it took out all the fat of the comic, and it just perfected it.
Anyway,
So one last question, and it's just kind of a weird one that I want to kind of throw on here. So we've been talking about American comics this whole time, but what's your guys' earliest memory when it comes to reading manga?
uh, I
I don't
was
think
at
I don't
I
think
was at a
Marvel. Can you actually answer this,
library.
Marvel? I don't
I
know
was
if
at
you've
a,
actually ever read manga.
no, I've read manga
Yeah,
before.
I've read manga as I've said.
It was like, oh god, it would have been like 2007 or so, and I remember going down to the local library, and they had volumes of One Piece. They had like the first like 6 volumes or so, and never rented anything. Like I never rented anything from the library, but I would always go down like on a weekend and read all the books they had there. I remember they had uh, they had One Piece. I think they had another one. Might have been Bleach. It's all a blur. So something like that.
Mine also
Yeah,
comes from the library. My middle school library had volumes of Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh. And I remember
No.
being like, man, I really wish I could. Man, I really wish I could read a comic book in the library, but I can't. So, fucking give me volume 38 of Dragon Ball. And I actually ended up really liking both Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh. And so that's when I was like, huh, maybe anime isn't so queer. I think but
I
I didn't
also
really get into manga though until I read Naruto. I got a volume of Naruto at a restore of all places not too long after middle
yeah.
school. I read that and I loved it. Ended up going back and reading like the first few volumes and spinning off from there because at the same time I started getting into anime because One Punch Man was coming out and One Punch Man, being a parody of like American superheroes. So I watched the anime. I liked the anime of One Punch Man, so I went and read the manga. And that happened to be around the same time I also really liked Naruto, so I started reading Naruto and One Punch Man at the same time. And a whole bunch of other shit happened, and I just ended up just starting to read manga the same way I read normal American comics.
My youngest sister for a time, she was really big into collecting manga, and I forget what she used to collect, but it was some schoolgirl fucking monster bullshit that she'd have, and
Some gay
I
bullshit.
remember
I'll read Dragon Ball. I'm straight as hell.
I remember it's just like I read a few pages of one. It's like that's fucking lame. It's just, so,
Wait, this is a
and
comic book, but it's gay? How did you manage this? Where's the badassery? I'm used to comic books being badass.
A few years ago, I was with one of my best friends, and he was going through some stuff in his room. He was throwing stuff away, and he used to give me a lot of his stuff that he just had. And one day I came over, and he had a couple volumes of Inuyasha, and he gave me that, and he gave me the first volume of the anime. So I still have them in my room, in my closet. I keep it in.
Peak. Inuyasha is peak.
I kind of want to start getting into, like, I want to, because manga isn't something that I've never really delved into or never really piqued that got my interest. But since I've been watching more anime over the last few years, I kind of want to start, venturing out and reading some manga.
Should dip in.
Yeah.
Um,
Get my feet wet.
Say as an American comic, if you're an American
Yeah.
comic fan, I say One Punch Man is the easiest to get into because
One
it's a
Punch
parody of
Man.
American comics.
I'd actually say like Dragon Ball is the easiest to get into.
Well, yeah, but Dragon Ball is just like a
mean,
normie pick. I mean, I guess One Punch Man kind of is too, but
Yeah, One Punch Man isn't any more obscure than Dragon Ball.
I'm not saying it's obscure, but like Dragon Ball is like, it's like saying, oh, what comic should I read? Oh, read Batman. It's like that
Yeah.
kind of mentality.
Well, yeah, you were saying something to get people into it. Dragon Ball is
That's
basically,
fair.
the manga equivalent of like
Be back in
Superman.
a second.
Well, like I said earlier, though, it's like his sister read all this schoolgirl manga shit, and it's just like I read Dragon Ball. Okay, I'm about as hetero as it gets. There's nothing straighter than Dragon Ball. There's nothing more masculine than being a DBZ fan. And Dragon Ball Z is the superior Dragon Ball. I don't give a damn what anyone says it is. That might also be a normie pick, but DBZ is better than the original. It's better than fucking whatever the hell GT was. It's better than Super.
I like all Dragon Ball.
I like Dragon Balls across your mom's forehead. When he gets back, I guess we'll do
Find a new joke, my friend. Find a new joke.
Your mom needs to find a new stroke, if you know what I mean.
3 weeks later.
Alrighty, my intro to manga was The Legend of Zelda Viz Media manga.
I actually bought some of that from a book fair. I have the Minish
And
Cap, and then I have the Twilight Princess manga.
I bought all of the installments before Twilight Princess. And I bought them like a real champ instead of going to libraries. Just kidding. Libraries are cool unless you're Alter.
Support your local library.
Many months later.
Yeah, Grayson's dope. I read a bunch of Gotham Academy at the library as well.
I read a lot of Flash at the library.
What so what manga was your first? What book took your manga virginity?
I said Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah, Zelda. I don't know why the fuck that just escaped my mind. I was fucking in a different realm somewhere.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
So yeah, in conclusion, comic books are awesome, and you should read them and support your local library because they're awesome.
You should also support your independent comic book creators, including me. Give me money.
You should also support your local comic podcasts. Subscribe. Give us all money.
We got to have money.
So we're gonna do the plugging a little different. So we're gonna go around. We're each gonna plug what we have coming up, but also recommend the viewers a comic.
Okay.
Starting with whoever the fuck.
AJ.
Okay, so Batman for 7. So I do YouTube obviously. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Nothing like super urgent yet. But I do have Prodigy Comics issue 2 will be coming at you this fall. We got a lot of stuff cooking for that one. We already announced the cover for that. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram. It's Prodigy Uni on Twitter, and Prodigy Comics 52 on Instagram. And a comic I would recommend is Life Between Panels by Ethan Young. It's an Image comic.
Alder.
All right. Well, I currently working on a bunch of new music stuff that should be coming soon. So make sure you follow me, Alter Brap, on all social media and streaming platforms. And as well as the Alterverse channel. I got a few videos in the works for that YouTube channel that I think a lot of you guys watching at home will be really interested in. I plan on talking about the Superman movie here soon, so I say keep a lookout for that. And the comic that I will recommend, I mean, there's so many to choose from, but if I were to recommend any, let's look at my shelf real quick. If I could recommend anything, I'm going to recommend Arkham Asylum Madness by Sam Keith.
Nice. I love it. Okay, me. So I'm trying to get all my channels back up and running. I'm working on stuff for the LP channel, trying to finish some content there. And I'm also going to try and get back into the reviews because I'm working on Nightmare on Elm Street right now for the NES, and then I'm also planning, hopefully if things work out, I want to do Fantastic Four for the GameCube and some other ones, including Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine on PS2, Spider-Man Remastered, and all smattering of others that I have in the pipeline. So hopefully I can get a whole bunch of them done by the end of this year. And my comic recommendation is one of my favorite books ever. I loved it when I was in high school, and I still love it now. It is The Amazing Spider-Man Coming Home, which is from J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. One of the first collected volumes in Straczynski's run, and it beats out anything modern 616 Spider-Man has been doing. Like, it's just a fantastic book, and I think everybody should read it, especially if you're a Spider-Man fan.
Xavier, I could name about 20 books that would beat modern 616 Spider-Man, but W choice.
Yes, very nice choice.
I just mean within Spider-Man itself. So
Yeah.
eat my ass. I'm kidding.
I'm really proud of
All
my
right.
pick, though. Okay, everyone, go read Arkham Asylum by Sam Keith. It's fucking. No one talks about that book, and it's great.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
That's the
yeah,
episode.
that is.
Comment down
That's
below.
it from the
Comment
Speaking
down
Nerd.
below some of your childhood favorite comics down below. Let us know what you were reading when you were a young lad. I can freestyle an
Also,
outro.
be
if you want
sure. Also, after this, also be sure to tag Swifty on Twitter, harassing him to
Yes.
come and do the Superman episode with us.
Actually,
because we all want
dox-
to talk
we're-
about it.
If he doesn't do it in the next 2 weeks, we're going to dox his home address, phone number, girlfriend's phone number.
You should actually you should all just DM him on Instagram begging for the Superman
Yeah.
episode.
All right, freestyle outro. Let's get it.
Thank you to all the viewers on the YouTubers for watching the video, playing the video like a game, no Kojima Hideo. Check out all these comic books. They're awesome. Look, they're starting to turn into slam poetry. Fucking Cynthia. Jesus died for our Cynthia. Click like and subscribe. If you don't, you like guys. Goodbye.